Good afternoon, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tide Flies and Guide Service. And this afternoon, boys and girls, we are going to be doing a tutorial on Bob Clouser's Deep Minnow. So this one's purple and black. I'm going to do these in a number 2, although this one is a 1/0. So you're going to start off with a Mustad 3407 DT saltwater hook. I'm using Danville Flymaster 210 denier for this part. Right now we're going to attach the eyes. I like to run my thread all the way down the hook, a little past the bend, come up and just paint all the color so that it's all black, all the way up. Now, of course, this is a platform fly, so you can tie this in whatever color you want. Chartreuse, white, tutti frutti, there's all kind of different colors. So what I'm trying to do with this is show you some of the nuances and some of the ins and outs. It's not so much attach the eyes, it's how do you attach the eyes and where. So what I do is you got this part of the hook right here between the back of the eye and where you want to put the eyes, but you're not really sure where to put them. So I take the eye, or the eyes that I'm going to use, these hairline red lead dumbbell eyes, and I gauge them to where, so the dumbbell sits behind the eye, and then the thread comes up just inside the bend of the dumbbell. You see where the thread comes up, just inside. Okay, and then I bring the thread up and cross, and that leaves me the space that I need. And I take 5 wraps directly across, and I take 5 more wraps. Okay, and then 5 figure 8s. And then 5 over, under, over, under, over, under, over, just like that. And then 5 this way. Wraps in the back to lock it down, wraps in the front so it doesn't run off. And then I whip finish that and clip that 210 off. Then I put a little drop of super glue on top, and a little drop underneath. And I set that off to the side to dry. So when it's dried, it looks like this. So I'm going to mount that. Now I'm using 140 Danville. Tie in front of the eyes. Clip your tag. Then I use my hair trimming scissors I don't use my good scissors on hair. Hair is really hard on your scissors. So you can get these spring-loaded scissors for hair at a surplus store. I mean, they sell them. They're cheap. They're like $1 a pair, and they last forever. Now, you want to get you a clump of deer hair. You're all the time hearing about sparse, but you don't know how thick is sparse. So, get you a clump of deer hair. Then you flatten it out. See how it's flattened out? Pick those shorties out of there. I like to even my tips up. Yeah, those are pretty even. Okay. And then you measure it against the shank. That's about how much you want sticking out behind. Okay. Cut that excess off. And then flatten it out again. And pull those shorties out. When you're doing that, you kind of rub it in between your thumb and forefinger and move it around a little bit. Make sure you get all those shorties out of there. What you end up with is a little bit of sparse. Now this one is going to be purple over black. So I'm putting the black in. I bring my thread up tight to the eyes. Bring my thread up loose. You don't really want to reef it down because it'll try to twist on you. There we go. And once you get it where you want it, then you can reef down on it. And you want to give those hairs a tug and make sure that they're good and set in there. Then come behind. And there you go. So now I like to put body cover on mine. Now, when Bob ties them, he shows just putting the thread across here and leaving it that way. I like to put body cover on it. So I normally put some kind of off color, like here. It's purple over black, but I got a purple body cover, like a shank cover. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use here. And I want these to be tough, really tough, because I'm going to run them in the salt. So in order to make sure that they're good and tough, I'm adding half hitches, and like for instance, I'm going to paint this with UV resin. So I want that resin to sink in there. I'm going to paint the top of the head here. And before I put the light to it, I'm going to push this shank cover down into it, and then that'll soak the UV resin up. Then I bring the shank cover I'm using is Flatbraid. Take a couple securing wraps in behind the eyes. Take a couple in front. Come across. Just if you're going to cross, you need to make sure you cross underneath. You don't want to cross over on top. Okay, and once that's good and tied down, just snip that free. You set that off to the side. And I'm going to paint that with some UV resin. I'm going to hit with my light. I'm going to roll this over and hit this with the light. And that little bit of time that I waited gives this on top a chance to soak in, and the fly becomes real tough. Okay, so I'm using red as the flash. So I got two different kind of crystal flash here. I got this pearl red crystal flash, and I'm taking 3 strands of that. And then I got your regular standard red crystal flash, and I'm taking 3 strands of that for a total of 6. I put those together, find the halfway point, fold it over, oh, wait a minute, I did that wrong because I want to put my finger, there we go. So fold it over and put your index finger in between, so that way when you can separate them, so that you got 3 strands going down each side. And before I put this top on, I'm going to roll this over. I'm going to pull these up. I'm going to clip them off so that they're even with the black, with the deer hair that's in the back there. Now I'm going to put my purple on. So again, with the sparse thing, you just want to clip a clump, flatten it out, get those shorties out. I even my tips up. And then I make sure that my length matches. See the end of the black here? I want to make sure that my purple matches that. And I'm going to trim that. Flatten it out. Make sure I got all my shorties out. I'm still a little long. Wow. There we go. I'm going to get my thread up behind the eyes. Take a couple loose wraps to capture everything. And then you can start reefing down on it. And you want to run that thread all the way up to the back of the eyes. Yeah, it kind of looks like you got a real long nose, but you want to make sure you capture them things. All right, before you go putting a finish or anything on it, give them hairs a tug. Then I use a 5 and 3. Now, of course, it doesn't really matter that it's a 5 and 3 because I'm going to coat it in UV resin. But then I'm going to hit with my light. I start on the top. Come across the eyes. All right. There you have it. When you're done, you can just there you go. Clouser Deep Minnow. So this has been George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. If you enjoyed this or found it helpful, then please like and subscribe. And you can find the Custom Tied Virtual Fly Shop on Facebook by searching Custom Tyer, CUSTOMTYER 02. And you can also find me online at www.custom-tied.com. That's CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. Thank you again for checking this out. Happy tying.